I guess I am in. All right. Yes, good. Hello, everyone. My name is Ola, and I'm CEO and founder of SX Tech EU, the only one as far global annual event dedicated to innovation and technology for a sex tech industry. Now, I'm proud and really honored today to be able to open the very first episode of our new series, Sex Tech webinars called SX Tech Summer Bites, dedicated especially to professionals from the sex tech industry, adult industry, and also wellness professionals. However, this date and this particular webinar is very special and it's very important to us. We are Berlin-based brand, and here in this city 2 weeks ago, over 15,000 people marched their asses to show the support to the communities of color. We are Berliners, we are activists, we are sex tech professionals, and we are here together with you today to give a voice and a virtual stage to founders of color from the sex tech and adult industry. Now, today the talk will be moderated by an amazing entrepreneur, Lidia Bonilla, pleasure strategist and product inventor. Our guests are Nenna Joyner, owner of Feelmore Adult, and Raven Faber from EngErotics. So I wish you're gonna have amazing community time today, whether it's the start of your day, or whether you're just ending like we here in Berlin. And I really hope to see you hopefully on the 20th of November this year in Berlin for the second round of SX Tech conference. So I'm giving my voice now to Lidia, and thank you very much for being with us today.
All right, thank you so much for that awesome introduction. Thank you for everyone who's here to be in this really special conversation. So again, my name is Lidia Bonilla. I'm based here. I'm actually based in Brooklyn, New York, which is why it's light here versus where you may be. And I really don't want to take away from the other people that are on this panel or in part of this discussion. So I would love for them to actually introduce themselves, even though I know them, but I would love for you to hear from them personally. So if you can go ahead and bring in Nenna and Raven.
Good morning.
Good morning. So it's like 10 where you are, right? 9, 10?
It is 10 o'clock a.m. in Oakland.
Yeah, so start of your day.
11:10 over here in Denver.
All right, good. All right, so let's just go ahead and get started. Who wants to go first? Just tell us, what you're about, what matters to you. And
Nenna, you go first. Let's go from west coast to east coast. We start over there on the west coast.
Yeah. That's good.
All right, so my name is Nenna Joyner. I am based in Oakland, California, own 2 sex shops. Been in one in Oakland, one in Berkeley, as well as online, of course, like everybody else. But been in business for about 11 years now in the adult, no longer than that, space for 11 years. And what I'm about is definitely just making space for marginalized people and making sure that our business model actually supports. I know all is very, very broad from a marketing and a business standpoint, but I think it's possible. And so what I'm wanting to mirror in my business is what I want to mirror in my community.
Wow, that's really important because I mean, you're really the first person that I've heard, mention their commitment to them being in their business in this industry with respect to being, marrying your community. So I think that's really powerful and commendable. And thank you so much for doing that work.
For sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Are you good? Should I start?
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
My name's Raven Faber. Raven Faber. I am the founder and CEO of EngErotics, which is short for Engineered Erotics. We are here in the Mile High City in Denver, Colorado. I got an interesting story. I am a structural engineer by profession, and my introduction to the adult industry actually started around the same time that my graduate studies started. Why am I getting a call? Can you guys all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I thought me. Okay. So my introduction to the adult industry started around the same time as my graduate studies in engineering. I've got 12 years of engineering experience, about a decade of adult product experience before what I'm doing now. And long story short, we just wanted to build better shit, guys. I mean, sex toys are unregulated for safety and QA/QC. They are not rated for safety. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So basically, engineers build good stuff. That's really what it is. Engineering products to give better pleasure. We're also in the cannabis space. It's a whole mood over here. So that's
right.
That's like the long and short of it.
Yeah. So you're fully in as far as being in the, for the lack of a better word, renegade.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, that's absolutely it, because I didn't know that I could use my engineering background to think about sex toys, to think about how to design them, how to develop them. I didn't think I could use that background to develop better CBD intimate body care products. But here we are. I mean, my team is engineers and scientists. My husband is my CTO. I mean, it's fabulous. I love it. I just, I go on all day.
Good. So, one of the questions I get all the time particularly from people of color is like, how did you kind of get into this? It's kind of like not, it's off the beaten path. So for someone, for example, Raven, that's been in the science space, how was it to make this transition to something that's just totally different? And what's been like, has there been an impact with like your community, your family?
Oh gosh, yeah, that's a whole word. I mean, for me, the short story is that it was very easy for me. It was very easy for me to make the transition. During the time that I was working, I was a full-fledged engineer in the corporate world. I was working my 40+ hours, and I've worked on everything from wind turbines, oil refineries, commercial buildings, you name it. So I dealt with erections, but I was erecting buildings, that sort of thing. At the same time, I was in direct sales, and I was doing sex toy parties, which was awesome. And I started to notice that product quality was varying. Like, things would look cool, but they wouldn't exactly work right. And some of the materials seem to be questionable. I mean, I know you guys know about the oilies, all of that stuff. And you don't know what you don't know. So in my early 20s, admittedly, I didn't really know a whole lot about, how porosity, how things like phthalates, how material composition plays into the overall experience of a sex toy. And as I grew older, and I say that loosely because I'm only 34. I'm not old, but as I progressed through my 20s, I started seeing some serious design flaws and some gaps in the market. It was a very, in short, a lot of sex toys just weren't designed well. And they were designed for cis hetero people. They weren't really encompassing people who were gay, lesbian, trans. They were not encompassing, people that, went by they or them or some other pronoun. It was like him, her, or he, him, and she, her. And that was pretty much all that was available. And so little old me, I'm sitting here like, well, I know a little bit about circuits. I know about material composition, and I have a whole network of people that are sex positive that might want to work on this with me too. I bet we could design, spec out better internals, like have a say in material composition, and work on bringing products from concept to market, which we're still working on. And it's the same thing in the cannabis space too. So for me, it was a very easy transition. My whole
But it
family
sounds
knows
like
what I do.
but it sounds like you were already in the sex positive community. So it just took
Yeah.
just using what you know, your own skills and just
Yeah.
applying that
Well,
to an opportunity.
I have my mother to thank for that. I mean, as I was growing up, it was, and I grew up Catholic light. I mean, I know the Bible. I know what the scripture says. And I was raised in the Catholic faith, but my mom describes herself as a renegade Catholic. And so she was talking birth control and condoms and the pill and, pro-choice and, all of this stuff that, is not really given to you in a Catholic school setting. My mom she's still living. She is very sex positive and she tells everybody about what I do. My grandmother tells everybody about what I do. And that has helped a lot, in shaping me, who I am right now, which I'm forever grateful for. I know not everybody has that experience.
Yeah. I can relate to some of that. My mom is the opposite. She's pretty conservative. And when I told my mom, first of all, I told my mom like at the very end, like when I was ready to launch, and I told her what it was, and she was like, "Huh, is there a market for that?" And I said, "Yeah, I think so, Mom." She was like, "Well, you got to give people what they want," and I was like, "Oh my God!" I had no idea that she would be so open, and now she's like so cool, and she could quote anything in the Bible, child. So. You just never know.
So she knows that Song of Solomon. She knows what Song of Solomon's all about. All right. Okay.
Absolutely. She knows the book, book and verse. So thank you. So Nina, what about you? What had you, like, I know it's been 11 years. You probably, can't even remember your life before this, but what was your transition like, and what did you transition from?
Well, shout out to everybody out there in Berlin. My porns have actually been in the Berlin Porn Festival. I definitely miss it. I fell in love with Germany at that point in time. So for me, it's been 11 years in the physical space, but I've been in the I can't, sometimes people say, oh, I'm in the adult business because you pick up something. But, as far as activity, my activity has been I've done erotic art shows in Oakland and sourced from all over the country. And also had done two feminist porns where we won 2 feminist porn awards, one for best diversity and just cast for being brown. And so that was hella brown type places, and one out of Canada, but it's screened all over Europe and in the world. And so that I'm very, very grateful for that. And then just me actually just going to, before all of that, actually going to the ADN and then just asking, can I be on their panel? Like, I didn't know what the hell I was going to say, but I knew the perspective I was coming from, which was, community and looking at not so much as race, but the disparities in the numbers as far as like, for me, it was if you went to the porn portion of the ABN, which used to be back in the day, it was in in the Sands, it was in a convention center. Then you have the novelty section. Well, just by right of us being here right now, we're definitely in tech. I spent 12, 13 years in working for Fortune 500 companies as a network engineer. And so doing firewalls and network security. So, and also teaching and doing that stuff to get out of my classes, teaching community classes around computers. And so all of that, just looked at how despair it was not to see people who look like me, even in porn, not to see people who look like me. So for my first porn that I had finished before I even pitched it to a company, I was like, look, you don't have this. I got this. It's a new angle. It's a different perspective. And I feel like, even in that sector for the adult business, usually brown people are in front of the camera, but I wanted to make sure that we were behind the camera and just looking at the dynamics behind porn as far as, most people will use an alias and you don't know who their performers are. You don't, other than who they are. You know what they do, but not who they are. And also you don't know the director, like their skin in the game is only the win. You know what I mean? Like you won the award, that's it. But I wanted to make sure we started to do with our stylization for our videos was you would see a glimpse of me because we did 2 cameras. So the camera person would pan over to me. It was basically my investment into the project, but also my investment to show people that I'm just as proud to be a part of it as the people who signed up using their face that can change their life, you know? And so you can't take those things back. And because I do believe in it, I use my real name. I show my face. I'm not hiding those things, and wanting to just show other brown people that they can do it. Collectively around porn for brown people, it's very difficult, financially difficult for them to do a complete video, a complete, you know, film, if you will. At that time, you know, media transition so quickly, but to create a complete package that will have you from succession of not just one story, but multiple stories to create content for over an hour plus, I was able to do that. Creating the content, sourcing the talent, editing the content, creating the box design, and then eventually learning the distribution model to get things out there after my first film. And being very, very grateful for that, to just say, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to figure it out and fail on my own, because as you're asking people questions, many people don't answer those questions for you. They kind of give you vagueness, and that's not intentional sometimes, but it is. How can someone give you something that was tailor-made for them? So you have to go out and tailor make your own solution based off of your own problem. And that's the best way to, you know, move forward. And as far as getting into, it was a natural succession for me. I'm originally from Vegas, so I would see the AVN all the time coming to town. Like, what is this? But as far as being as specifically in the adult, after I said gone to AVN and saw that there were more brown talent, more brown people on the porn side, I was like, I want to be on that side, because one, I was already in the CPG community, consumer packaged goods. I worked for a company for quite some time, and so I understand packaging and you know, communities around product. And I was like, this is where I want to be. This is where my skills and my talent actually lie, on this particular side. And so that's what I did. But I actually woke up with a physical dream and decided to do what I'm doing. I didn't want to move to San Fernando. I didn't want to move to Porn Valley. I wanted to stay right in Oakland and fulfill my dream. And in doing that, I woke up from that dream, got on the computer, and bought sex toys and porn, and went out in the streets from the back of the trunk of my car and actually started selling stuff.
He was hustling.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, seriously, like hustle. I love that. I mean, and it's, to me, what it sounds like, though. I mean, you know, you have a complete, you know, commitment and passion for sex positivity. You also have like a deeper love of people, and like it's beautiful how you've, like, you know, married, you know, those two things together, because there are other people that I've known, other people of color in the industry, who are really afraid to make, who are afraid to make put themselves in front of their business. And I'm like, you own this company?
That's so important, though.
Like, you own this. Why did I never see your face is not on the website?
You can't. Yeah, that's one thing, especially as a brown person. I've had,
and I was surprised at the size of the company. I was like, this wasn't like a little, you know, we're talking about they sell stuff globally, and they were like, no, we don't.
We got to have people know. It's so important, you know. And I tell people all the time, I want for people to know that is a Black woman running this whole thing, you know, and that's so important. Like, even if I'm not in the marketing, we got to have melanin in the marketing. Like, I want all shades of brown. I want hair texture that looks like mine. I want locks. I want froze. And I remember, like, being a little girl, and I didn't like my hair. And I didn't understand why my hair didn't flow and it wasn't straight. And they weren't singing about I love my hair on Sesame Street at the time. And I just, you know, and I've been through relaxers and weaves and everything like that. I didn't even get to appreciate my own natural hair texture until sometime in my 20s. And then my sister-in-law set me free, and then everything was, and so identity is so important, representation is so important. And growing up, I didn't see other women that looked like me going out here to be engineers. I didn't have an example for that. And so I've been operating in white spaces for a very long time. Like, I've often been the only Black person on my engineering team, certainly the only Black female engineer, like in my firm, in the office, what have you. And I'll tell you something, that subtle look of surprise, like when you walk into the conference room and the people who you've been talking to discover, oh, this is the lead engineer on my project. Like, I've seen it time and time again. And story for you, because I was, because I watched you two on the town hall the other day, and I was cleaning my kitchen and just soaking it all in. And you guys were telling your stories, and it reminded me that, just in February, my formulation specialist and we were working our booth at USA CBD Expo, because, CBD is for sex as well, and that's part of what we do. And, she's talking to people over here, and sorry, my formulation specialist is white. So that's an important piece. She's over here on one end of the booth talking to people. I'm on the other end talking to people. And I lost count of how many times I overheard her say, well, actually, Raven is the founder of EngErotics. Like, it's not my company. And I look up, and there's that little eyebrow raise, that little, it's just blink and you miss it. But I've seen it so many times. Like being in sex tech, in the adult wellness industry. I've seen it, as an engineer. It's just, so representation. I want people to know, like, see this melanin, like, see me.
Right. Yeah. That's really, I mean, it's imperative. It's imperative. Like, if you run a business on a global scale, if you have a commitment to be on a global scale, to make sure you are representing others. It just makes actually smart business sense. I mean, granted, there's also the story of like, if you want to be a decent human being, that part too. But to fill people in who may have not been on that panel or seen that town hall, what she's referring to is a town hall that XBiz organized last Thursday around racism in the adult industry. And Nenna and I had the opportunity to be on the panel along with, I believe, 6 or 7 other entrepreneurs. And one of the things that I had posed, one of the questions I posed, is for people to share their most uncomfortable or racist experience. Because what I found, and it's not just the adult industry, but like just in a lot of other communities, speaking for myself and other white communities in which I'm involved in, is that people want to talk about the solution and what to do, and what do you think I should do? What should we do? And I'm like, okay, that's been done. You can kind of Google that. There's been a number of documentaries on that, and folks have done real big work around that. Like, people have written dissertations on what to do. And but what's missing is the actual, like, the real emotional impact of when you don't see yourself, one, represented, and number two, when you are going, like Raven, when you're explaining like what it's like for you to be at your booth and people just pass you by,
I don't get upset anymore when I don't see the representation. I don't get upset. Like, it's not to say that I don't care. I think, just because Black people are still smiling doesn't mean that we don't have an opinion or emotional opinion about what's going on. But I also feel when I see it, I mean, because when you walk into a room, that's that room. But then there are tons of thousands of many of rooms to walk into. And so, when you're bubbling things up to a trade level, you know what I mean, which is encompassing of all of those rooms, it gives you an idea what the the agenda for things are. But I also feel this is when we don't see is where we create. So instead of saying they don't do this, or you're not doing this is an opportunity for me, because there's a profit margin associated with someone doing it this way and someone doing it this way, because the mindset is the difference here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so for me, it's like, okay, if they're doing it here and I come in the market, you're already going to start out, you might start out below, but you have an option. I think sometimes people, in business as the option, just because, you know, I look at that as a brown person, and I know that's a brown business. I saw a business owner I saw years ago. I went into their physical store, but they allowed the white person to do all the talking for them. You know what I mean? Or I have people, and I found that very difficult. It's not to say that their products weren't great or the selection of the beautiful space, but I wouldn't shop there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, those
Right.
aren't my politics.
I've noticed the same.
Yeah, so I don't call people out. You might get a DM for me before you get a call out, because I don't think it's very constructive. I don't think it's very constructive. I think it's very rude, and is not very constructive for people who really want to change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think they put you put a lot of people, sometimes systems we gonna put on blast, but people I just don't put on blast like that. And
I totally agree.
And so it's and so I just like, you know, I was just like, okay, this is cool. You know, I like how they're doing this, and it's just like, they're missing the value in who they are just as well. You know what I mean? Not that somebody is greater than them. It's just like, believe that people, you know, it's like, it's akin to charging a lower price for your product because you're brown, because you want people to shop with you, because I did that shit in the beginning. That don't pay the bills. You know what I mean? So, and so it's like, I not so much as drop my price, but I set my price, not understanding what I needed to do to grow my business. You know what I mean? It was a low price is likability. You want someone to come in and like your product, and you looking at volume. Yeah, you can do that if you got containers coming, but you can't really do that as you got 3 or 4 items on the shelf at a time. It doesn't really equate. So to get it back into store costs a lot of money. And so I just say, you know what? Fuck this. Like, I'm going to charge what the product should be charged. And I'm also going to make sure I create value behind the product, because the product is the product. All 3 of us could be selling the same product, but it's the value that's placed behind the product and the value that's placed in front of the product is where my cost comes in, because I'm not just to replace a product, but I'm also to contribute back to my team, myself included, to make sure that we can get to selling the next product. And then also, I just think that, you know, when you don't see people in the room, it's just an opportunity for you to create. I never wanted to criticize anybody like they didn't do this, they don't do that, but it also gives people opportunity. Now, if you see 2 things, now you have to decide, why are you shopping a certain place? You know, I think consumers, we just get lazy and decide that this is going to be the de facto. Even in journalism, people are like, oh, let's just go to them. They're good. I tap on journalists' shoulders to let them know who I am. I was like, you know, what you did wrong in this article was this, because you're really creating this narrative that doesn't include people, and you're continuing to channel into that funnel that makes some people rich and other people's poor, and they're all selling the same damn thing without actually doing better journalism. What you're turning journalism into, dear writers, is marketing material. Now, if you want to do journalism, let's talk about journalism, but don't just, continue to put the same people at the tiers that leaves other people out. If this is about journalism, do your work. Don't make it easy. Don't repeat the same thing, because there are a lot of businesses out there, but a lot of businesses come to the top because of journalism that turns into marketing.
Right. And journalists are, I pitch press all the time, and they're, for the lack of a better word, sometimes, not say lazy, but they're under a lot. Sometimes it's like they're under a lot of pressure, and they'll go, for the first bite, or the people that they have a relationship with, and all of that. And so it's like paying for the relationship. But to your other point, Nenna, as far as like, it really is an opportunity. I actually get excited by gaps. I guess the entrepreneur. That's the entrepreneur in me. It's like, okay, so people are here, and then other people over here. Oh, wow. What about the people that should be here? Oh, this is an opportunity. For example, so I was, my product, and I think 5, but you, Nenna, also was like featured in Cosmo. for, Black owned toy brands. And when I got that, I saw the opportunity, and I could have just said, oh, I'm in, I'm good. She emailed me back, I'm good. I said, you know what about my friend Suzanne that's had cancer and then she still launched this business? I said, girl, do you want to be in Cosmo? She needs, she got to know in 20 minutes. And she was like, yeah, of course. Thank you so much. But she was also featured in the article. So like, for me, it's like, if I have an opportunity and I have a foot in the door, I'm going to see who else I can, else I can bring further.
Yes.
And it's not even like no favors. You don't got to shout me out, nothing like that. It's just more like, it's just really the exchange of energy. And for that, though there have been challenges. I mean, there's challenges in this industry as being a Black woman, but for that, I've been very, very grateful of the power of community around women, or just like in that sense that we have come together.
Getting away from that bucket of crabs mentality, I think I just had a phone call yesterday, not even adult industry related, just something different, like, hey, would you listen to my idea? But that's so important. That's so important because there aren't a lot of people that look like me in STEM. There aren't a lot of people that look like me in sex tech. There aren't a lot of people that look like me in cannabis. I'm trying to have all the things, and I want, people who are melanated and underrepresented to have all the things as well. So it's not even about like, hey, what can you do for me?
We're actually represented in cannabis. We just in jail.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good point.
We put in work in cannabis. We have been the trailblazers in cannabis.
We're represented for the wrong reasons, and I just did an interview with the Ministry of Hemp. EngErotics works with them a lot, and we were talking about racism in the cannabis industry and what needs to change. So Nina, yeah, you're absolutely right, but yeah, we're in jail, and meanwhile we've got all this. White VC money, white investor money. And it's like people don't want to talk about it because it's uncomfortable. But no,
uncomfortable. And to your point about that, as far as like who's where, I was working on a bank project, and so before I did, while I was doing this, I would also like be a contractor in the banking industry, doing like investigations into like high net worth clients and, looking into like the ownership of all these like shady companies and all that. That's a whole business that banks have to do. At any rate, I remember that the bank I was working for had a cannabis deal that they wanted to do. And the problem was that one of the founders and one of the people on the board had a record. He wasn't Black, he was white. He had a record. And they were like, we really want to still want to do this deal. So you know what they negotiated? They negotiated from the guy he could still keep his shares, but he had to be removed off the board. And they did the deal.
Yeah,
millions.
That sounds
millions of dollars. So
and
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's like, here is like yourself who would want to do like want to be in business in cannabis, and you're fighting, and other people that I know that are fighting for something. A friend of mine, Mary Pryor, is one of those people that fight for representation in the industry. And you're doing all of that, and they've put in the work. And here's this guy who could just all they've got to do is remove your name off the paperwork. We'll give you the millions of dollars. And the credibility, because it's not just the money; it's the credibility that this huge multinational bank put themselves to say. Now they can say, oh yeah, one of our investors is blah blah blah. And meanwhile, folks, Black and brown folks are fighting for crumbs. So.
When we were we were the only company there of our kind. Like we were the only company that had our CBD sex stuff in our vibrators, and I didn't really see much color. Like there were other, there was a little bit of diversity, but I don't think there was one other founder there. And I believe that was it. It wasn't like there was just the sea of melanin. And And so it's like, this work is really important, and it goes beyond, just making sales. I mean, we got to make money too. I got to turn a profit. I'm not working for free, but especially now, the work that I'm doing is so much deeper. I have a whole nother company that I own and run that develops land and does engineering. And that's really important too, because I've been on many a construction site. And I've heard a lot of casual racism while I was just trying to do my job. I was telling my husband the other night about S20. I had an internship with a construction company. Like, yeah, I'm going to start, doing my career thing. And there's this old grizzly white dude, and he was nice enough, never said anything like unkind to me, but he did take it upon himself to explain to me the science behind why Black people can't swim. And I'm 20. I'm 20. I don't really know what to do. I don't really know what to say. I don't really know. But what I didn't know was that this was a reoccurring theme, throughout my career. So, doing what we're all doing now, carving out a space, seeing the gaps, if nobody else is going to fill it, we're going to fill it. We're going to cater to the people who are not marketed to. We're going to give them what they want. It's very important. Just existing and letting people see the face is so important.
Yeah. That's really, really important. All right. So, just in a few minutes, we're going to go into questions and answers, but I wanted to touch on a topic or a question around like what everyone's doing and dealing with either the pandemic, if you had to pivot your business, like really what's been the impact for you, where you are.
Ooh, give me a minute. Like, I want to hear Nenna because she's got a brick and mortar. They have a brick and mortar. So give me a minute to think about that because it's a lot.
Yeah. So how have you been dealing with like the impact of the pandemic, and like have you had to pivot? What's been your approach?
You're just open. You're a business. You don't get to close. In a brown business, you don't. When you close, you close. You know what I mean? So for me, it's been maintaining my routine. Getting up every day. I'm over here with my shea butter right now doing this. So this is what I'm doing. Get ready for get in. Because the whole thing is you either turn it into a storefront or you turn it into an office. The whole thing is to run the numbers. It doesn't matter where the numbers come from. You have to run the numbers and you have to create something. This is an exercise in business ownership. It's an exercise in entrepreneurship, and it's an exercise in quick execution of your visions, because some of those things that didn't work well when business was regular may work well now. You know what I mean? With under the timing, under the duress, and under the nature. For example, I do delivery when I can. Say it might be an hour, 30 minutes, 30 miles away, 40 miles away. It's $100 delivery fee. You know what I mean? And so maybe in a current time where someone can leave their house without a mask and touch other people, want to go into a store, that premium may not be of value to people. You know what I'm saying? Versus right now, it's a premium, but it's of value to people who still want what they want, but can't get what they get. You can't get it. So it's like, how do you get it to them? Call me. Somebody asked me to drive 400 miles. I was like, no problem, but here's my fee. They're like, you gonna come tonight? I said, you gonna put my money in there tonight? Like, it's all good. The technology that we're all fighting against, so to speak, of not being inclusive, includes dollars. It's very green. Yes. And so how can that get to this Black body to get this product to whomever it is? And I think that if we still, push the system to include, examples of opportune moments for our community, such as like Square came out of the recession, but it was also great for brown businesses because they don't traditionally have storefronts. So if you're moving product on a sole proprietorship through your car, I could have used Square at that time, but I didn't. You know what I mean? Like I could have ran a credit card, could have did this, and the person would have got the receipt right away. So using technology to even press forward on brown businesses. I think this time right now is so incredible. I'm so late on a lot of things where I wasn't really late on before because, you know, it was just going through my day. Now I got to go back and get my mask if I forget it, you know, those kind of things where it's like you can't be close to somebody like, hey, let me use your headset, or, you know, just those small
It just
things
changes.
that kind of,
It changes
you know,
your everything. Yeah, but it sounds like you have really like adapted as far as, you know, being creative, and I think this is really where people are going to shine in that sense, if you can really create this as an opportunity. Because when for me, when everything was canceled and I had this and canceled and that canceled, and the next day I just woke up out of bed and I said, okay, where's the opportunity? Where's the opportunity in this? And that's really that's been great, not only for actually creating opportunities, but to your point about self-care. It, you know, because it's been tiring to be in the house and not being, I can't see my parents who, you know, live other states, and, you know, so all of that, it's like, it also is a way of centering myself. So thank you.
The other thing is during this time, I know we're talking about COVID, but you know, we're all brown right here for myself as being, my business is right in front of the police. What's happening with the police in downtown Oakland all the time during the protests, especially the protests that turned to looting and all of that destruction in downtown Oakland. My business was there. I was there. And so out of those flames, actually, with the spark of George Floyd, I don't think we can get through any conversation these days without saying this gentleman's name, that that spark pushed a lot of white businesses to push Black businesses to where they should be. Like, I mean, Cosmo, I've written Cosmo many a times and said, hey, can you guys include me? And it's
that's
like,
why I was so excited.
And so when they didn't include me, I was like, all right, well, let me write again. Here's a new writer. Let me write again. Here's a new person. Even Essence wouldn't fucking with me. You know what I mean? Like, and I had a story with them a couple times, and they still don't take stuff from brown businesses. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, hey, here's a brown business that has product that can send it to you for review. Give me an opportunity. Give me a shot to speak at the Essence Festival. You know what I mean? I went to a Black college. I mean, I would still have a base there regardless if I'm good or not, because fam, you're going to ride for your people. But you speak to another thing about media, and it's like, and it's as readership is down and you know, they're not selling physical copies and all that stuff. There's those, you know, relationships of like, who's paying what as far as sponsorship to the festival, or are you paying for ads on their you know, there's a lot of ways that they get paid, and it's like there's preference to those companies that have the budgets to you know, sponsor an article and all that. But as a young business, you don't know that, so you just keep knocking. You know, it took me about 42 no's to get to my one yes of opening my space, but that gave me a humility and a humbleness to continue to knock regardless of who answers the door. And, you know, so, you know, there was a door, but George Floyd burned it down. So now everybody is standing on the outside together, you know, and so it's put us all in a different opportunity to say, I've been here all the time. And not only that, my Instagram has gone up like 5,000 in a week. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't never had that. Now I can do
it's incredible.
Now I can do more activity on my Instagram page.
Right.
You know, I've always done my own PR. I've always done my own marketing, and it's just been a godly blessing on the things that hit it, you know, just naturally hit. I don't just show up and say, let me get my pad. What am I going to do today? I just live my best life.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So you're looking at a millionaire right now with not $1 million. You know what I'm saying? So brown people in this business, like, I had to start in my car just to get a store, where some people start at a store. You know, so the energy level
on prime location. So
in prime location. So
the playing field is not level.
I had to go downtown Oakland when nobody wanted downtown Oakland. Now everybody wants downtown Oakland.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
I figured out how to explain it, and I wanted Nina to go first because I don't, you know, EngErotics is e-com. It always has been. And I've been through so much since we've been staying at home. And so it's really hard to describe like exactly what pivot I had to make since we're e-com. And I would say that I had to pivot and figure out how to redo my entire damn life at home, because I got two babies. I've got a 19-month-old and a 4-year-old. And now all of a sudden I'm doing everything that I normally do with 2 babies underfoot, and my husband's working from home. And that's a lot. So it's like, and it's not like you can do the bare minimum when you're a mom. It's, feed them, clothe them. Yeah. But I'm trying to raise good humans and to keep them safe. I have to I have to actively parent, and that's a lot of energy. And there was a period of time where I was really concerned, because EngErotics is one of 2 companies that I run. It's like, okay, I had the damn thing figured out before the pandemic, but how can I keep everything going and still be here for my family? And that was really tough. And it actually, our big pivot came from, what does the day-to-day look like and how are we dividing that? And so, my husband and I, now we're like on a different level with how things go. It's like from when we wake up until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, he's doing what I was doing, which was doing his job and dealing with the kids. And then when 1 o'clock rolls around until the evening, around 6 o'clock in the evening, I am, doing my job and watching the kids. And it's not perfect, but it's what we eventually came to. So it's like my business didn't pivot so much as the way my house is run. So and that was a lot. Oh, I'm hearing an echo.
I know, it's me. It's me.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to turn off my computer volume. Oh, there it is.
But yeah, I would say that for me, and that was tough. I mean, being somebody who has struggled with depression for a very long time, I told my husband, I feel like a 1950s housewife. Like, I don't feel like
a lot of people have felt that way as far as putting the work at home and all that. Yeah, and then you have the added pressure of being an entrepreneur, because you have to really generate your own mood. All right, so I also want to get into some questions that people have voted on. So, what advice would you give to other founders of color in this space?
I just tell them to start. I mean, there is no rhyme or reason. You have to get the main thing as any person who wants to go into business is the fear factor of failing. And if you have to embrace that, if you can embrace that, you can fly. You can do anything you want to do, because you're not going to look down. Don't look down. Don't look down.
I would add to that. I would add to reach out to the people who are at where you want to be at, and don't waste your time being bitter and being like, oh, well, this person over here, they got all of this. Like, I want all of it. Like, no, like, drop that, figure out what you want to do, start it, like Nina said, and then start reaching out and saying, hey, you're in this space and I want to be there one day. So how can I get to be where you're at? Start networking, start connecting, get that camaraderie.
Yeah.
You can also, the other thing is, don't be upset when you reach out to someone and they won't get back to you. Because here's the thing. I got a book, I got YouTube, I got Instagram. I have a lot of things that have been written, and I consistently say the same thing, especially about business. I really don't talk about sex toys in articles. And so if you are serious about it, you will understand as a person gets to a certain level, books are there for a reason. So that way, when you meet the person, you're not asking the same thing that you would have asked that they answered already in any of the interviews and any of the content that they have. So use technology. It's not about meeting a person. It's about when you meet them, can you elevator pitch them in one question that they've never been asked?
Right.
And there are very few interviews. People don't even know I do porn because they haven't done their research. Or people have asked the same question over and over again. So I get refreshed when I get asked a good question, because the content is already out there. Like, if you really want to you don't need me to write the article. what we're to do is engage and get something different. And that's where I'm to. But if you're asking the same questions, I'm always going to give the same answer.
Yeah, that's definitely, you know, doing your research, being intentional, thinking outside the box. That's so important in this industry, with given how all the other like factors as far as advertising and all the just other shit that we deal with. And so another question is how to market effectively. Like what has worked for you?
Instagram. Instagram. I'd say it's across.
Have you ever gotten flagged or shut down? How have you avoided that?
No. I've been very fortunate. I just, you know, because I've heard a lot of horror stories, but I'd say it's for me, it's a cross between Instagram. We've got a private Facebook group, which was before we were on Instagram. You know, we created this private community on Facebook. And that's where I post every day. And that's where you get me in the raw. I don't go in there looking like this. Like, I'm like, look, guys, I got 5 minutes. Nap time is about to be over. Here's the deal. Like, you know, so customer engagement through there, community member engagement through there. And then just hitting the ground running and just being like a presence, like wherever I can be, you know, being helpful, you know, just jumping on threads in different communities, you know, adding what I can.
When you work at home with your partner.
Is she strutting around?
She's like in my office. Go in your office. Go in. Trying to tiptoe. What you tiptoeing for?
Like, yeah, you're here. Hey, say hi.
Yeah.
But no, I've never been shut down on Instagram, and our following is small. Like, we're like a little over 900 people. But our growth, all of it has been organic. We have a lot of those 900 people shop with me. That's how people find me for articles, for expos. That's how SX Tech EU found me. And we don't pay, like, I don't have a marketing. I am the marketing department, so.
Yeah, and you can't even if you can't even do the ads anyway. So it's like, okay, whatever. Okay, so what about you, Nina?
I use out-of-home marketing. So I use a lot of billboards in my city that are politically and culturally relevant at the moment. Right now we have what do I have up? I have stimulus packages available. And I actually use a lot of Google AdWords. I've been using Google AdWords for a minute. I'm actually looking to get certified on Google AdWords because I like it so much. I really do. It's really, really rich if you can keep up with the changes, and the sooner you get in there and you become, you know, proficient to a certain level where you can see things are not working, that'll be good. I think I had an issue with Google AdWords. Somehow it was down. I didn't do something. I just like, I brain farted. And by the time the COVID hit, I actually didn't have, my ad just came back. So just looking at, you know, the traffic that we generate with that. And as COVID came back, like I sell thermometers. So I set up a Google AdWord for thermometers, and it's fun. I like Google. I don't use Facebook. I don't use Instagram just because of the business. But Google AdWords has done very, very well for me. I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, good. So we're almost at 2:00. Is there any parting words that you would like to leave this fabulous community with?
No. No. I think right now, everybody, we appreciate you guys all just wanting to
we really do
see this. And I think it's, you know, hopefully, you know, this was good dialogue for you to hear, because, you know, a lot of the stuff you can't read, you can't Google. And this is just coming from two perspectives or three perspectives on people of color. I don't know what how do you guys identify, because all people of color don't identify the same. So remember that. But that we are just offering you our perspective, not a global statement for other people, and that all people are different and all of their experiences are going to be different. All of their lenses are going to be different. And so let's just sit with that and not take what has happened to one to happen to all. But let's just hope we get to a more harmonious and peaceful community, globally, especially.
Beautiful.
I agree.
That's beautifully said.
Yeah. Black people of color, were not monolithic. And I think that some people get this idea of, you know, like they meet you and like, oh yeah, I have a Black friend, like you guys should meet. And I'm like, just,
Why? Why should we meet?
like why? I would say that, I want for people to take away from this conversation that, like Nina said, this is just 3 different perspectives. Like we're both 3 different individuals with different experiences. I would also encourage people to, hug an engineer today because, I'm pretty biased when it comes to math and science, but the things that are made possible with math, science, and engineering are just incredible. And if we can get past this stigmatization of, that comes along with sex tech and sexual wellness, maybe we could have entire college courses in an engineering curriculum talking about material science for intimate safety. Maybe there's a chemistry class that talks about, formulation for intimate safety, but people don't want to talk about it. And so, I really want for people to be aware that, just because you see something in a sex shop, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be good for you or useful for you. And so I would encourage people to ask the hard questions if they can. Ask those questions, because people should be aware of what they're using. So, but this has been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it a lot. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, both of you. I wish you a lot of orgasms and money because it's.
Yes.
I mean, why not?
Oh, don't forget, did you guys put your tip stuff down there? Venmo and Cash App. You're more than welcome to thank us somehow.
Exactly.
You shop with me. Come by.
No, I don't want to shop with you. I want pure profit.
Right. Yeah.
Understand the numbers.
Right. And so I'm gonna put my PayPal.
Look at you.
I'm serious. Because I'm like, you know what? I didn't do this before.
Honestly, I'm going to be the odd one out. I do not have one. But it's because, every order that slides through, like we're a really small team. And so I'm getting that money anyway.
It's not about money. It's not about that. It's not about
the recognition. It's the recognition. It's also the exchange of energy. It's like people have to know, like, in time. It's like people have to know that, telling these stories, first of all, you're listening to our experience, number one.
I feel like an old Black woman rocking in a rocking chair.
Yeah, like
sitting all y'all on my lap.
Back on my day. So it's really, it's an exchange of energy for me. So even if it's like $10 or whatever, it's
yeah.
So all right.
Exactly. All right, so that is it. I'm not sure if Ola or Anna are gonna step back in, but I think this is complete.
She's done. They said no.
Okay, awesome.
Peace out.
All right.
Off to my day.
All
see
right.
you guys. It was good
Thank
to see you guys. Good to
Have
see
a
you
good
again,
day.
Lydia. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.